Hello, dear friends. Welcome to this program, Our Moments with God, our moments with the Word of God, our moments with the love, mercy, and compassion of God, our moments also with the holy ones of God, which I say every day because you know that the church has every day some saint or the other. Of course, some are very popular, like Saint Anthony of Padua, whose feast we celebrate today. And there are some who are in the making, like you probably, with your own piety, your own holiness, and your own attempt to follow Jesus more closely, like St. Anthony did. And that is possible when we look at our own self and are aware of what is happening within us. And I invite you also to share the videos with others and ask your friends and families also to subscribe to the channel so that we reach out to more people. Thank you very much. Today, the 13th of June, is the feast of one of our most popular saints, I would say popular saints, and in that sense also famous saint. Everybody knows about Saint Anthony of Padua. Though there are other Anthonies, and he himself took the name of another Anthony. I will come to that in a moment. But he is one saint whose statue is found practically in all the churches. Even in this church, for example, you don't find statues of other saints. But Saint Anthony has a prominent place, and here there are candles, etc., which people come and light before him, because he is one of those great miracle workers. So people think he is also sought out for the lost things. People pray to him. He is a patron for priests. He is a patron for preachers. He is patron for the poor. He is patron for letters. He is patron for sailors, all kinds of things, and we will come to that. So Saint Anthony actually was born in Lisbon in 1095, 13 years after the birth of Saint Francis of Assisi, who was, of course, born in Italy, and he was born in Lisbon in Portugal. I had the great privilege of visiting also Portugal, and his birthplace. There is a huge church there now, which is built around his house. They say he came from a very rich family, but already at the very young age of 15, he joined the Augustinian Order. He died as a Franciscan, but he had originally joined the Augustinian Order, because Augustinian Order was also famous, and the order to which our current Pope Leo the 14th belongs. And he then had a great desire, and he then was in Morocco as a missionary, and there he for the first time saw how 5 Franciscan missionaries were murdered or martyred, if you like. And he was so deeply impressed by that, it had a deep impression on him, that he then wanted to be a Franciscan and had a desire to die also as a martyr for Christ, to witness to Christ, to witness to his good message of the gospel. So he then asked if he could join the Franciscan Order. Saint Francis of Assisi was still alive because he had founded the order and he was going around. But then he had little difficulty in getting leave from the prior of the Augustinian Order. But with little challenges here and there, he finally got the permission, and he joined the order and wanted to be a missionary. And he came, of course, to Morocco as a missionary. But then soon he became very ill. He wanted to have martyrdom, preach the word there, but because of his illness, he had to be taken back, or he wanted to go back to Lisbon. And it is an interesting story that as he was traveling on the ship to Lisbon, the ship, because of the strong storm, was pushed towards Sicily, the southern part of Italy. So he landed in Sicily and he was welcomed there by other Franciscan brothers, and then he then slowly was busy. Of course, he was a great intellectual too. And then soon they recognized his talent for preaching. There was an occasion, some celebration, and the prior wanted somebody to preach. And then nobody was ready, so they asked him to make a very simple sermon. And Anthony got up and gave a very powerful sermon. Not so much like loud and shouting or things, but very deep and profound message he gave. So he became well known as a preacher. St. Francis of Assisi came to know about his talent for preaching and his intellectual capabilities. So Francis then of Assisi appointed him to be in the formation house of the Franciscans, and where he of course started teaching the students, the seminarians. But he became very well known for his preaching, and he went even to France to preach, and he went to the northern part of Italy. Padua is, of course, in the northern part of Italy, where I happen to be. So actually his original name was Fernando. And when he joined the Franciscans, he took the name of Anthony after the first great monk who is known as the Desert Father. The first desert monk was Saint Anthony of the Desert. So he wanted to be deep in prayer, which he did. He used to go deep in contemplation in prayer. So he took the name of that Anthony and then became Anthony. But he spent a lot of time in Padua, which he loved. So that's why he is known as Saint Anthony of Padua. So it is interesting. He was born in Lisbon. He is a Portuguese person, but he lived a long time in Padua. And right now in Padua also there is a huge basilica after his name. I had the privilege also to visit that cathedral and pray there. It's so powerful prayer. And you know very well that how ordinary people always rush to Saint Anthony. Saint Anthony's day is Tuesday because that is the day he died. And just one more quick thing, we find him either with the child Jesus. So how is it that he has this baby Jesus in his arms? It is said that once when he was visiting some place, he was so deep in prayer that Jesus appeared in front of him as a child, and the room was filled with bright light. So the owner of the house, who was not a priest or a monk, came and peeped through the hole of the door and saw that he was deeply in prayer, holding Jesus, baby Jesus, in his arms. That was, he was in ecstasy, so united with Jesus. So when his prayer was over, this man was kneeling at the door. So that is the story about Saint Anthony having child Jesus in his hand. Sometimes he is also seen with a lily, sign of purity. So he is also known for praying to lost things. You know why? Just quickly, because once he loved his book of Psalms, because he had written down notes there in his book of Psalms. And he loved it so much, but somebody stole that book. Actually, one of the novices stole that book because he wanted to have it. Saint Anthony prayed, and the novice returned the psalm book to him. So he found his lost psalm book. That's why people prayed to him for the book for lost things. And finally, one more little detail about him, because it is here, it is written Saint Anthony's bread. You know that on Saint Anthony's Day, on Tuesday, a lot of people distribute bread. Do you know why? Because one lady whose child was very sick, she went to the grave of Anthony and prayed that if her child recovers, she will distribute bread to the poor. And the child recovered, and she then distributed bread to the poor, and from that time, the bread of St. Anthony has become famous. But we can all do our own charity. Of course, St. Anthony listens to our prayer, and through his intercession, God listens to our prayer. Jesus fulfills our prayers through the intercession of St. Anthony. But we can also learn to be deep in prayer like St. Anthony, to be good preachers, proclaim the word of God, share the word of God, and as well as be charitable, be available for the poor. And my dear friends, if you like, you may please subscribe to this channel. Thank you.